And I looked down through an opening into the woods towards this field, and I mean, maybe 40 yards away at the base of a tree, big round black spot, like blacker than it should be for a shadow, or a rotted log or something. And I kind of it stopped me in my tracks. And I kind of grabbed my binoculars, but looking at it, it was completely round. And I'm like, so I get my binoculars and look, and I mean, sure enough, I'm like, dude, that is black. And I said, it looks like a bear down there.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Tracks and Tackle podcast. I'm your host, Ron Mentzer. Today, we are deep diving into spring turkey season here in Pennsylvania. We're now officially in the second half of the season with birds still on the ground and plenty of time left to tag a gobbler before the end of May. Today, I'm joined by two great guys for this conversation. First up, got my good friend and our resident turkey specialist, Justin Barrick. Justin's been on the show many times and always drops serious knowledge when it comes to turkeys. And making his first appearance on the podcast today is one of Justin's good friends, Chris Lightner. And we welcome you guys to the show. Couple of weeks ago, Justin and I headed up to the cabin for what was supposed to be a solid turkey hunt. Instead, we got surprised by a black bear and some cubs. We might get into that. Let me tell you, it got the blood pumping a whole different kind of way. But that's the way turkey season's been for some of us. We'll tell you the full story here in a bit. But in today's show, we're going to talk a little bit about how far turkey hunting's come in Pennsylvania, the brand new approved Sunday hunting rule coming up next year, what the second half of turkey season usually looks like, and we're going to share some highs, lows, funny moments from the season so far. So, Justin and Chris, welcome to the show. Thanks for carving out some time to hang with me today. Let's talk some turkey.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, what's going on?
Man, we just spent a little bit of time hanging out together, and we got some stories to tell. But why don't, Justin, since you know Chris a little bit better than me, or Chris, if you want to, why don't one of you guys introduce Chris to the audience and maybe give a little bio, how you guys know each other, a little background for some context.
Yeah, so I don't really know how we got to know each other. We've known each other for a long time. Played a lot of sports with his younger brothers growing up, some baseball and some different things. So probably known him for a long time. More recently, our daughters have played on the same soccer team together, and we've actually interacted through work. He does garage doors, and I do commercial construction. So a lot of times we're using interstate garage doors on construction projects. So, and yeah, we actually did a small project at their office, which there was a lot of turkey hunting talk during work hours, a lot of office visits, a lot of that type of thing. So it was kind of cool, and it was in the spring, so it was neat. But and that's when I found out about this podcast, and he really blew it up, and I started listening to him and the Barrick boys, and then everybody else who's been on since then, and have really enjoyed it. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Chris, we like to talk to local guys, and you're another, local guy to most of us, semi-regional guys. And so that's what we do. We try to build out the hunting family by, just talking about the stuff we're all passionate about with guys that live in the same towns and the same neighborhoods as one another. So appreciate you taking the time out to hang out with us this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Justin.
fun.
Yeah. Justin, what's going on with you, man? How you been?
Good, man. Same old. This time of year, it's always a little bit of a blur because it's most days, I would say, since the middle of April when Maryland came in. a solid 75% of the days I'm up between 2:30 and 3:30. Um, a lot of days during the PA season, I'm not necessarily always hunting trying to kill a bird for myself, but I'm out listening, trying to get the girls on a bird, or, something like that. But, um, yeah, it seems like every year a little sooner, I start to feel the wares of that. And I have
It
noticed
wears
this
you down.
weekend. Yeah, we're only halfway through the PA season. It's too early to kind of feel the way I felt yesterday. So, but turkey hunting, work, and then come home and try to be, husband and a dad and all that. It's a turkey season. It's a grueling thing, but I yeah, can't get enough of it.
Yeah, like I could have said it any better. Well, let's get into this, guys. Like I said, appreciate you coming on. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to pull up an article on the PA Game Commission website. And I'm just going to go through this. This was from the beginning of the PA season, like right before the PA season launched, and that's basically May, the month of May, we can hunt in Pennsylvania. But I just want to go through this for some context, and then we can pick it apart and talk about some of these topics because I know you guys have a lot of knowledge on this topic. But Harrisburg history provides context on just how good Pennsylvania spring turkey hunters have had it lately. During the state's first spring turkey season in 1968, the total take was 1,636 birds. So make a note of that. Compare that to last year when hunters harvested an estimated 42,543 birds. Not only was that the largest spring turkey harvest in the last 5 years, it wasn't far off the all-time record of 44,000 set in 2009. 44,639 is what the record is in Pennsylvania. This year was shaping up to be another good one. In 2026, spring gobbler season starts with a one-day hunt for the juniors license holders. And then I'm going to skip through some of this because you had the junior hunters having a week, and then it started in May, and it runs the first half of the season, I think, through the 15th or 16th. You can only hunt till noon. Second half of the season, May 18th through 30, when hunting hours run from 1/2 hour before sunrise to 1/2 hour after sunset. So you get the whole day, basically. So we're into that second half of the season where you can hunt the whole day. Hunters allowed one gobbler with a general license, and they can purchase a second spring gobbler tag by May 1st to take a second bird. So here's what I wanted to pull from this. Hunters should be aware that obviously this year there's no Sunday hunting for spring gobblers, but that's going to change in 2027. The PA Game Commission earlier in the month of April approved the 2026-27 hunting seasons. But this year spring turkey is only Monday through Saturday. So we're going to have Sunday hunting next year. We'll talk about that a little bit. Pennsylvania's statewide turkey populations have been on an upswing in the recent years. Harvests have climbed accordingly as well. That's not just a result of being lots of hunters necessarily. PA has an estimated of, get these numbers, 170,265 spring gobbler hunters in 2025. And of that 170,000, 10,700 of them were juniors. So that's what we want to see as old sages, right? We want to see the youngsters getting involved. And I don't know if those numbers can move positively or not as we continue to promote the sport. But in monitoring turkey population trends, the Game Commission examines a number of birds harvested per 100 days of hunter effort. This accounts for changes in hunter participation, said Raina Teal, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly, the agency's turkey biologist. And in 2025, the statewide average of 5.6 gobblers taken per 100 days was higher than both the latest 3 years and 5-year averages. Future looking bright as well. Game Commission tracks turkey productivity, how many new young birds are produced through the summer sighting surveys. It allows agency staff to calculate the number of poults observed per hen and to get that poults to hen ratio. And these are 2024 numbers, but in 2024, wildlife management unit across the state saw poult to hen ratio higher than 2.0. The statewide average was 3.22 poults to hen. So that's 2024 numbers, which basically, I'm not going to read the rest, but it indicates we're 2 years out from that. And those 2-year-olds and any of those gobblers, they're in play this year, right? So let's talk about this a little bit. Last bullet point I wanted to pull from this article was it says nearly 1 in 4 hunters, 23%, harvested at least one gobbler last year, which I thought was really a high number. I don't know, I'm just giving you reading the article, but I'm going to turn it over to you guys because I want to talk about those initial numbers. Obviously, in 1968, we didn't have the same measuring mechanisms in place that we do today, but only 1,000, it's like 1,600 birds when they had the first spring gobbler season compared to 42,000 last year. So talk to me, guys. What stood out about that, or what comments might you have off the top?
I mean, I would say it sounds like from that article, the state's doing a good job at working in the right direction to get these birds and their populations going in the right way. Um, there's varying opinions about how they're doing that, and everybody complains here that the season is 2 weeks too late compared to other states. They do that for the reason of they want the animals to breed and for the population to grow. They're not just completely worried about hunter harvest numbers. So it's a hard
Mm-hmm.
pill to swallow when you want to go out there 2 weeks before season when the birds are hammering and everything in the woods is crazy. But that's always the give and take with a true turkey hunter wants the population to grow because we want to still be able to do this 20 years from now. We want our kids to be able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was let me add on to that,
Yeah.
Chris, because I'm one of those guys that complains, that everybody's turkey
Well,
season
everybody does.
starts before us,
Yep.
right? But I also was just telling Justin recently when we were talking, I don't know when it came up, but look, when I grew up in the area that I grew up, there were no turkeys, but today there are.
Yep.
And so there's the direct correlation to your point that you're making. You want those population numbers to grow and increase, year over year. And I can see that firsthand from, the area where I grew up in PA.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's turkeys are it's a tough thing. The populations are dipping the whole way across the nation. I'm not a biologist. I don't know how they do their surveys. I don't know how, um I know they do like the poult, they reach out to hunters and, want to see who's seen what hens and poults and whatever. And every time I see that in my head, I'm kind of like, I don't understand how that gives you a fair representation. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know how you would tell turkeys. Like deer, you can do, drone surveys or whatever with the thermal and know exactly how many deer are on however much land. You're not going to do that with turkeys. I don't know how they do it. But I do know that this year, a handful of the places that I've hunted, I've heard more birds in different places than I've heard in recent years. A couple of the better places that I hunt, I started hunting 2008, the main best farm. And when I got permission, that guy had said 10 years earlier, if somebody told you they saw a turkey, you said, have a nice day and walked away because they were crazy. Um,
Right.
and just
Yeah.
in that time span, it had gotten to where, they just explode. So if they have the right thing, they have the right habitat and everything, they can thrive. But the numbers have gone down. But it seems like in PA, things are good. I hunted a handful of days this year. I mean, well, two hunts with Chris Bookman and a hunt with you. We didn't hear a bird. We didn't hear a gobble, but I know there's turkeys around. But, pretty much every other time I've heard a lot of birds. And as far as like the numbers, obviously, whenever they first started hunting, I'm sure there wasn't as many turkeys as there were today. But then you got the deal where people don't really know how to turkey hunt. The technology and everything today it's incredible. Just in the ammunition you can use. A
Sure.
hunter today is way more lethal than I think we should be for what we're trying to do. This ammunition, this TSS, 60 yards, absolutely no problem. And it's just it isn't incredibly difficult to get a turkey. I shouldn't say that. The difference between getting a turkey to 60 and getting a turkey to 40 is so exponentially harder than,
Hmm.
just that difference. It's just so different. Nowadays, if there wasn't TSS, that 42,000 would be, I don't know, 38,000. A certain amount of those birds were killed, in that manner. But technology, you see that everywhere. Fishing, the sonar, the forward facing video, and all that. I mean, technology is always going to continue to make us more lethal. But what Chris said, absolutely perfect. Us as turkey hunters, like true turkey hunters, more than killing a turkey, we want there to be a buttload of turkeys. We want turkeys to be everywhere. We want to hear them everywhere, see them everywhere. We want everybody to, you want to hear gobbles when you go out. And that's the difficulty for the state biologists when they're setting seasons and all that. They have to care about their main goal. They have to care about the resource. Like that's what they're there for, is the resource. But in order to do the things they need to do, they need $100. So where's the balance between, doing what's best for the resource on the timing, but also making sure your hunters are hearing turkeys and, having a good hunt, because that decides how many licenses are purchased and then how much money is going, to the Pittman-Robertson Act and that money's vital to everything a biologist is trying to do.
So talk to me a little bit about, we talked about turkey numbers, hunter population. That 10,700 in 2025 junior hunters, compared to, what percent is that of 170,000, right? It's just a small percent. From you guys as being diehard turkey guys, obviously we want more kids getting involved. Is that a good number? I'm sure it's better than what it used to be, but 10,000 juniors, and I know it's tough also for, I don't know. I like the junior hunt personally. Whether it's fishing or whether it's hunting, you got the senior day for deers, junior and senior hunts for deer hunting. I like those weeks because it does give a chance to people that otherwise wouldn't, maybe they wouldn't go out and get involved. What's your thoughts on that, Chris?
Yeah, I think it's really good, and um, contrary, so Justin said he was having one of the better seasons that he's had in a while. I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum personally this year. So I've hunted 90% state forests, and the trend I've personally been noticing lately. So 15 years ago, if I'd have been hunting the same places, there would not have been nearly as many people there. There's always tons of hunters, but not nearly what I'm
Mm-hmm.
now. I'm not hearing not a lot. I wasn't seeing a lot so far this year. But I know there's turkeys there. So why is that? That's a great question. They're not wanting to gobble, they're not cooperating. It could be a lot of different things, but a lot of hunters in the woods. a ton of recreationalists, hikers, mountain bikers, and then now since the e-bike thing that's a major game changer. So
That changed things too. Yeah.
not only for access, so turkey hunting, I like to walk. I like to do big walks. So e-bike was not a thing. So if you were back pretty far off of a road, you were likely not going to run into a lot of people. That has significantly changed now. You'll run into people anywhere that used to be very tough access. Um, so that's just one thing. So, the harvest number's up, but I also think I'd like to see the data on it, but I think there's more turkey hunters in the woods. But then also due to social media and YouTube, you can learn how to turkey hunt very quickly just by watching videos.
Yeah.
You can be way more efficient. I kind of learned how to turkey hunt on my own. I didn't have a great mentor that I learned from and went with. So the first 10 years of my turkey hunting was, hey, I was hearing birds, I was in and around birds, but there was a lot of failures. And
Just
but
figuring it out.
yeah,
Yeah.
and but like I said, you'd run into hunters on public for sure. But it was just a little bit different in my opinion. Um, with that, I do agree. I like the youth day. I'm all for that. It gives them a time to get out one week earlier. So we talked about everybody complaining about the season coming in late. So it's a week earlier. So it should, in theory, be better. And it gives them a chance to get out there before the woods get completely blown up the following week. So I'm all for that, to give the chance to a kid to have a good experience, whether it's just hearing birds or actually, getting a shot at one. I'm all about that. So you won't hear me complain about that side of it.
Well, one of the thing that you brought up was the recreation. And, I wasn't thinking about that as I was going through this, but it's a good point. Like,
Major.
we loved it. Like, my wife and I, we love to go, and we're hiking the same mountain that you're hunting.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
I guarantee it, you know? And so, like, we like to take the dogs out. We like to hunt. There's a lot of trails, in this area that we live in that you can go out, but it's on state land.
Yes.
And, so I'm very conscious of that, especially in the fall, probably
Yeah.
more in the fall than I am in the spring of, all right, we're not going to go take a hike on a Saturday right now because
Yeah.
whatever, it's archery season or something like that.
Yeah.
But you got a lot of bikers and hikers and, people that don't think like me
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that they're just going out and enjoying outdoors, which we advocate for as well.
Yeah.
We want people to go outside, get the stink blown off of
Yeah.
you, do something outdoors, but that's got to impact
Yeah. It does.
your hunting.
Yeah, it does. And they have every right to be out there as well. My
Hmm.
only my only complaint would be that e-bikes especially. Um ATVs aren't allowed on some of these roads, and they don't pay registrations or buy licenses to use they could go in the game lands and ride their bike all they want. And they don't pay a license fee that goes towards maintaining those properties. So
Hmm.
that would be my only gripe with that. I don't know what could be done to mitigate those type of running into each other whenever they're out enjoying their mountain biking, and I'm enjoying my turkey hunting or deer hunting. Is there a happy medium somewhere where, hey, there's a 2-week period where they shut down mountain biking or whatever, simply for the fact of they don't pay anything to be out there, and our money does.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I mean, anytime you're hunting on a public piece of ground, that's just par for the course. But it doesn't make it easy to swallow whenever they mess up your hunt. Or I've had before. I'm carrying a turkey out over my shoulder on a hiking trail, and you meet somebody, and it's like, what are you doing? You have a gun. They're like half scared, and it's like, well, I've been in
Depends
here
on the
since,
person you meet,
yeah.
right?
I was here before sunlight. I sat here, I harvested a bird, and now I'm walking back out to my vehicle. It's like, well, we didn't know that there was any hunting seasons in the spring. We thought it was all fall. And it's like, well, no, there's stuff happening out here that, if you weren't a hunter and you just were completely out of touch with hunting, you wouldn't know. So, uh, you know, it's one of the things you run into though.
And I've been part of some conversations with people about just speaking to that, the game lands. Obviously, the state forest is a state forest, but game lands, that's hunter money funded.
Hmm.
and, but there's been conversation about, people that wanna use the game land, making them purchase a hunting license or, some kind of permit to be able to use it, which, at on the
They do
face
that for
of
the
it,
shooting range.
sounds good, but on the other hand too, the backside of that argument that you don't always think about is, well, the minute that horse people
Yes.
or, whatever, the minute that their money goes towards it, now, you know, they have as much a right to be there, and, and now we're kinda battling, so you know what I mean? So
It's
it is
another
kinda like,
obstacle.
shoot,
Double-edged
okay,
sword.
that's we don't necessarily want to and on a state forest, you don't have that, but I mean, I don't know. That's where a really good healthy population,
Yeah.
kinda,
Makes the
solves
difference.
all those problems because if you got, again, we've talked about it every time we've talked about turkey hunting on this thing. Deer, you don't know they're there until you see them. A gobbler gobbles half a mile away. Everybody within hearing distance of that knows he's there, and that's what you're all there to hunt. Um, it's
Mhm.
not just picking a spot on a ridge and setting up, and I'm sitting here, and somebody came walking in, but they saw my light, so they moved. When that turkey starts gobbling at 9 a.m. and nothing's gobbled for 2 hours, everybody's scooting. Um, so that's where a population, that has a lot of turkeys spread out, it helps decrease some of that, conflict. You can get it, right now you got to be where the turkeys are, and if that's near a mountain biking trail or a hiking trail or something, you're dealing with it. If you can get back into a hole, that e-bike guy that's going 3.5 miles in and he's doing it in 20 minutes while you're hiking for an hour and a half to get
He's
there.
missing a lot too.
Like,
Yeah.
he's not going that far because he doesn't have to, so the population helps with that, but that's tough. That's a tough deal, and it's definitely something we gotta kinda, you know, I guess, deal with, but
I think about hunting, like you hunt on farms a lot of times, right? And so the deer that are on those farms, so I'm gonna use deer, imagine it's the same for turkey or any other animal, right? They're used to the sound of the tractor, right? So they don't get spooked and run off or relocate when the farmer's out there just doing his daily routine. To some degree, that principle has to also translate to like a state forest where you got a lot of hikers or you got a lot of bikers, cyclists, and that sort of thing too. Where if it's normal happenstance, they're not necessarily moving the game around. It's just as a hunter, you need to navigate the additional, it's another obstacle having other people in the proximity of where you're trying to locate a bird or pinpoint a bird, that sort of thing, right? So it's a super, it's an interesting angle, Chris. Thanks for bringing that up because I had not thought about that when I was reading through this.
Yeah. Yeah, so that would just add to the matrix of that, formula of the amount of birds that they're showing for the population and the number that are taken and sort of how you get to that. Um, that has to be considered too in some capacity, I think. But yeah, I think the hunter numbers in the last 15 years, I would guess, has gone up a little bit more. Uh,
Oh, I'd imagine, like Justin said, with the technology, if it gets easier, you got more people. People don't want to work hard for stuff, but if it comes by a little bit easier, maybe they'll be more apt to go out and try their hand at it.
and things were starting to blow up before COVID.
yeah, COVID really changed. I
Really,
think so.
as far as, like, YouTube, personalities, the hunting public, you know, uh, in that exact name, and then also just the idea. There's a lot of other people just hunting public lands and traveling to do it. And when COVID hit and you couldn't go to work, I mean, what else is there to do? For a
Yeah, we
lot of
got
people
outdoors.
love to do this is go turkey hunting, and that really, that stepped the numbers up, and then people get out there and experience it, and, you know, the idea of it is really cool, and then when you go to get up and do it, it's harder to do, but when you've got nothing to do for the entire season, you're gonna find the gumption to get up and go do, and then you get into the right stuff and you realize like, "Dang, man, this is worth, this is worth doing."
Yeah.
So certainly, COVID was a huge, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure the stats would say that there was a tremendous spike and, it stayed. I don't feel like it's dropped off since then.
Mhm.
Goes for recreationalists too. I mean, everybody was trying to get outdoors during COVID, so a
Mhm.
lot more camping, hiking, biking. Everybody was getting out there because there was nothing else to do. And you'll probably, I hope, well, I don't hope, but I think you'll see a trend of it's going to taper back down maybe in a few years when, hey, this was fun. Maybe I'm not as successful as I was hoping, or it's a lot harder than I thought. The public land game thing, it was cool for a while, but now it's so hard to get away from somebody that this isn't as cool as it looks on TV all the time. And, it might not be as cool as it once was. It,
Trends come and trends go,
yeah.
right?
So I don't know.
And it is fun hunting public land. It's really really fun being successful hunting public land. But I mean, you guys know as well as I do, around here, any spot that's worthwhile, there are other trucks at the gate when you park in there. You know, um, you gotta you gotta pick a special day, or the stars got to be aligned to roll up into a sweet spot, and there be no trucks. So one of the other things that I thought was unique when we were reading through the article was they said 23% of hunters harvested a gobbler last year. Now that's almost 25% is 1 in 4. So does that sound right to you guys? Because
It seems pretty
I mean,
good.
maybe that is.
I don't know. I was thinking it seemed low, but then again, like the hunters I know, our circle, I would say, are
They're
pretty
killers.
serious about this,
Does
So
that count fall as well, or is that just spring? Does
I
it
I
think it
think
I
we're
think
talking
it's
just
spring.
spring,
okay?
yeah.
I thought it was just spring as
And
well.
and I'm kind of wondering where they got their number. Like I'm wondering how they
Hmm.
get that number too. Like you know,
Is it
the
purely off
number.
reports? There's an estimation,
Yeah,
probably.
like is it because obviously everybody gets a turkey tag.
Yeah.
When you buy a license, you get a spring turkey tag, you get a fall turkey tag. So, what is it? How are they? Because I don't know. Other than like checking in a turkey, if I didn't kill a turkey, I don't know how they would know that I'm a turkey hunter.
Yeah.
So I don't know
Exactly.
I don't know how they get that number. But honestly, yeah, 23%. How many people will they factor in that go the first Saturday, the second Saturday, and then that's it. I don't know, but that number seemed it felt low to me in the beginning. But again, stepping back, my circle of people that are turkey hunters, and they know how to hunt turkeys.
Yeah, you're used to seeing success, and that's the expectation. Well, guys, why don't you we transition and tell me a little bit about your season? We're about halfway through the episode, and I sort of want to shift gears here and get some stories from you guys. Chris, I know you said it's been a rough go this season.
Yeah.
You got any highlights or highs or lows you want
I'm
to
not
share?
so sure I want to talk about my season so far. It's been one of those that uh, I like to tell myself I run into every so often where it's just a trying season. Um,
Mhm.
Before the season scouting, I went out. I was trying to just find and locate, and that's kind of my normal procedure. And since the season has started, a lot of the find and locate areas haven't been working out for me. The birds haven't been gobbling, and they're very hard to locate. So it gets gritty pretty quick when you're laying in bed in the morning at 3:30 and the alarm goes off, and it's like, well, do I just lay here or not? But I would just say for anybody in my shoes, just you got to keep going and keep trying and keep if you have to go to plan B, C, whatever, keep going after it. So my season's been very uneventful as far as kills go, but this past weekend, I was up in Clearfield County. I took my 10-year-old son for the first time up to our, we always just call it turkey camp. But it's the first time we took any of
Right on.
the young boys this year. There was two of them there. One was 10. My son was 10. I think the other one was 12. We got in and around some birds finally. We didn't get any trigger pulls, but they were glad to be out there with the old guys and hear some birds and get in there and just see kind of what they always heard about us doing when we were up there. So
Mhm.
it was cool to be getting the next generation, like you talked about there with the introducing youth, get them up to camp and get them in there to see. And of course, they had fun just playing around at camp with each other and going
Exactly.
thing. So
It's not always about that, bird over the shoulder, especially to these younger guys. They just want to be included and be part of camp, and those are memories that they'll take with them. They'll carry with them forever.
yep, for sure. And it's kind of funny, you don't, when you mention things, sometimes you think your kids don't really listen or hear you, but, my son a couple times would ask very specific question. Hey, Dad, is this where you shot that turkey you were telling me about? I remember you saying it was, such and such, and I was like, well, yeah, it's right up here or whatever. So it was neat that he was listening whenever he asked. Uh, but yeah, so my season, yeah, all day hunt now. I'm not a huge evening, afternoon guy, but this season it might be what I got to do to get one. But it gets down to the nitty gritty here. The second half of the season, a lot of guys are sleeping in and not hunting anymore. You know, it is possible for things to wake back up in some of the pressured places. So we'll keep after them, and there might be a report back to you. Hopefully that there's some success at some point. So
We want to hear it, man. We want to we want to know
yeah,
all about it.
yeah.
Justin, you want to tell our story from the other week?
Yeah, we can do that. I would say from a turkey hunting standpoint, it echoed Chris's story, state land.
Wasn't the best turkey hunt.
Um, you know, uh, we didn't hear a gobble. We saw some sign. I mean, certainly there are turkeys there. I mean, the one spot that we got to is maybe if it's not the prettiest, it's right there. The best kind of most beautiful setup for turkeys. The way that mountain, that top comes down and splits into two, and it had everything that you would want to have. Certainly the habitat's there. It just was one of those days where they just didn't gobble, and Tuesday we hunted Wednesday. Tuesday, my buddy hunted up at our ground and they heard birds. I mean, just everywhere and solid, constant, just about all morning. He blew a gobbler and a hen out, and then he had two come in, to him on the side, just wasn't set up right, couldn't get a shot, and then tried to get on some other birds. They hunted that yesterday, didn't hear gobble. Those turkeys are still there. Just some days, for whatever reason, they don't talk. And that day that we hunted, it just wasn't, conditions weren't
Overcast
perfect
day.
for it. And I've certainly have heard them gobble on days like that. But for whatever reason, they just didn't talk. And that, turkey hunting is difficult when they're not, it's like trying to hunt deer when they bed down and don't move. What are you gonna
Mhm.
do? Turkeys, you're not gonna sneak around and find them. You know, um, if they're not talking, it's really tough to hunt them, and that's what we had. But we were just out, taking it in, enjoying the hunt. And man, we had for somebody that was just out there to kill a turkey, I don't think that it wouldn't have been a very good day. But we were taking in a lot of other little things that, because our focus wasn't solely killing a turkey, made it an extremely enjoyable and memorable day for sure.
I'll chime in here and I'll say, for me, bringing a. I talk about our cabin. I talk about the land we hunt on. That mountain means a lot to me, and to share that with somebody, a friend, like it was a blast, to have you come up and hunt with me, and to just be able to walk the land together and take it all in. So I'll let you continue, but that was my perspective.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really cool to see new places, and obviously, going up to the cabin, you'd kinda told me before, like, "Look, we're just staying one night, it's just us, I'm not gonna take generator, we're gonna rough it," lantern, propane lantern, you got a gas stove there, so that's nice, but honestly, if we had to start a campfire and cook fire for me, I'm down, man, that's
Hmm.
I like that stuff. It's an older cabin with history, there's a lot of
Yeah.
different racks up there, and you can tell you walk in and you tell you're in PA, you got the wall that has the spikes and the 3 points and, just kinda makes you
How it should
smile,
be.
and then you look at the other wall and it's like, "Okay," over there we got the ones that when they came back to camp everybody stood around for a while and just, kicked it and, you know, talked about it and it'll always be remembered. Everything that you're gonna get out of a camp, that's at camp. And the mountain's beautiful, state land right there. Um, it was awesome, so I know I know what it's like to wanna share, that kinda stuff with other people, but it's just as neat to get to experience that as somebody going in there for the first time for sure.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. So we took the day and we went out and we hiked a couple miles, but we took in all sorts of different wildlife. We just we didn't run into any turkeys.
Yeah, we did not. We did not. But, it was funny. I was kinda the camera guy. I
Love
had
it.
That was
killed
a test to see if you could run a camera, really, is why I
Oh,
brought you
man,
along.
dude, I enjoy doing it, and it's something that the last handful of years, I've been thinking like, "Gosh, I'd like to." I got a little action camera, and I use my phone. But
Mhm.
it's just so tough, but it would be nice to have a really good camera. I have an interest in that. Like, I love good pictures, I love good film. I like to be out there just seeing it, and I think sometimes the cameras can, take from your experience to experience it in the moment, but also, like, I look back at some of the videos that I've got from, 15 years ago, and it's like you have your memory, but that video is a vivid, exactly what it was, so I
It's a
have an
replay.
interest in that, so it was cool to me, I was doing the B-roll thing, man, chipmunk,
Lots of B-roll.
chipmunk, blue jay, we saw a couple scarlet tanagers, which I don't know how many people listen to this are gonna have to Google that, but,
Right?
saw a couple of those, which is pretty cool, and one really that played the game perfect for what for us trying to get some video. They don't normally do what he was doing, just hopping back and forth from branches, 15 yards away um, you know, and then walking out. Are we so you're putting a video together, like, are we spoiling that? Are we telling the story here, or what are we
No, no,
all the
listen,
deets or
tell the story, and, what you guys are gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna watch or check out the YouTube channel to see the hike that we took, all of the B-roll, and the excitement at the end.
Yeah, so we're walking out the road, and I don't know, my turkey hunting thing is when you're coming up on a hill and there's another side to that hill, you stop before you get there, and you I was using a slate call. It might be a box call, it might be whatever. I was using a slate call that day. Kind of hit it, soft a little bit. Um, and usually when I'm walking, I'll do some stuff with the mouth call, just real kind of like a turkey. Sometimes you can bump into a turkey, and if they hear the leaves and hear the right sounds, it might get them to gobble, and then
Mhm.
before you blow them out. So we're every now and then we're, calling, stopping, calling on a slate call, and we got to this clear cut where it was just maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 acres, something like that. Trying to picture. Along the side of the road, and of course it's all private down about 20 yards off the road to the left, um, or a little farther. It's private, but we're walking down that road. Had just called at the beginning of that clear cut. Get to the end of the clear cut, and I look down, There was a pile of crap, and I've seen some bears, but I've seen maybe 4 or 5 bears, in the woods live, or, in person, I guess. And I've seen bear crap, but normally it's riddled with seeds and this and that, whatever. I saw this pile, and I was like, I think it's bear, but I don't know. It could be horse. Didn't really see any seeds. I'd asked you. I said, "Is that bear crap?" Yeah, yeah, it is. So, and it looked fairly fresh. So then, as we literally from that pile of crap started walking, and I was getting ready to tell you a story about a buddy of mine that turkey hunted and had a sow come in, must have had some cubs and was jaw popping or whatever they call it, bluff
Yeah.
charge. And actually, Chris works with him, with that buddy. And I couldn't. I mean, I was getting ready to start the story, and we're talking, not loud, but we're talking. And I look down through an opening into the woods towards this field, and I mean, maybe 40 yards away at the base of a tree, big round black spot, like blacker than it should be for a shadow, or a rotted log or something. And I kind of it stopped me in my tracks, and I kind of grabbed my binoculars, but looking at it, it was completely round. There was there was the back, and then it was round on each end. And I'm like, so I get my binoculars and look, and I mean, sure enough, I'm like, dude, that is black. um, and I said, I said, that looks like a bear down there. And, but it just, to me, in my mind, if it was a bear, it would almost be laying there dead or something. Like, it's just like, I don't know how a bear sleeps,
It wasn't
but
sitting up. It was laying down.
just
Yeah.
laying down. So, and then you said pretty immediately, I just saw, the ear move. It is a bear. Well, then it was like, dude, okay, we're 40 yards from this thing. It's laying down. I got the camera tucked in behind my bino harness because you know, uh, trying to work a slate call, and the same thing happened 5 minutes before with that scarlet tanager. And I kind of had to fumble the camera out to get footage. Well, I made the same mistake again, rookie camera guy, you know, and so Ron kind of give me the camera, content guy, you know,
Yeah.
the camera out. And all of a sudden, while he's getting that going, I look up in the tree. There was like this, it was like a walnut or a maple tree or something that went up maybe 15 feet. And then there was all kinds of branches like close together in a clump. Um, and I see two cubs the size of like smaller than a basketball, like small cubs crawling around up in there. And that changes things. Um, so I mean, I don't know what point that audio picks up, but we start talking about the Cubs, and the first thing you said was, "Yeah, there are Cubs. We need to get out of here." So naturally, we stood for 2 minutes filming, um, and I was kind of videoing from my phone, and you were videoing from the main camera, and then it's like a discussion of, okay, what do we do? Um,
Yeah. How do we go about this? Because she was laying down, and she didn't know
Facing
we were
away,
there.
luckily facing away.
Which one of you can run faster?
Oh, and that
In
that
a
was
foot
Was
race.
the
that was the
question.
discussion.
Where are we at in the foot race game here?
That was the discussion. Ron was using my gun, I was using Lily's gun, and I took 1 box of shells. He had 3 shells in his gun, I had 2 in mine.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna wing Ron,
Okay.
get him in the calf or something, I gotta make it good because he's got more shells than I got.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was thinking like, okay, a bear, I don't know. Like I don't know what is I would imagine 5 would be enough to turn it around. But the discussion was, my thought was, okay, like we got to backtrack and loop way up around because the wind was going down the mountain.
Yep.
And we weren't quite to the bear. So like we get another certain amount and our wind's going to start
Right.
going down. And that's what I don't know.
Hmm.
And, so it was like, do we go, well, you're going to make a lot of noise doing that. Ron said, we're on the log road. We got this far, like we can sneak by, and get by. So that was the play. We got some video, shut that down, started going, and I had started videoing on my phone. I don't think I turned my action camera on, but you did.
Yeah. I got a lot of our audio, our back and forth.
Just kinda like, you know what? If this thing does come at us, like, people are gonna get to watch it. You know, I may not make it out to show them, but they're gonna get to watch it, you know? And,
You wanted to be like the guy that got mauled by the mountain lion and was like, "Yeah, I just was 15 miles back in. My face is all bloody. I think it ripped my arm off, but I'm still alive."
I didn't
You
I
wanted to be that guy?
that was never an urge I had.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Never gone through your mind.
but yeah, we got past them, and I'm sure she winded us, but she didn't wind us where I thought she was gonna wind us. Like, the wind, it was
We
either
got past her
blowing or
before
it changed a
she
little bit. Like, we'd gotten past. She was
popped her head up
60,
and
70 yards before, and then you can hear and see in the video, like, you hear us sneaking along, trying to watch the ground, not step on sticks, while we're also trying to keep an eye on the bear, and, but you hear when she gets up. You hear Ron say, "She's up, let's move." But if you didn't hear that audio, you would hear the steps quicken.
The breaths,
yeah,
Yeah,
our pace changed.
some
we
panting.
start the pitter patter was a little quicker, but she went straight the other way. Blew straight the other way, went out around, and it was just like, man, that was a rad deal. That honestly, she probably wasn't far away whenever we walked through there in the dark. And I was just, you know, I had just said to Ron, like, when I'm walking in the turkey woods in the spring, that is something. When I hear something, I'm usually not worried about, noises, whatever. But in the spring, where there are bears, I always do think, like, man, what I don't want to hear is bark, balls on bark, like cubs shooting up a
Right.
tree. And honestly, because our buddy, had that encounter in the spring one year with that bear that, was popping jaws and bluff charge. Look, there is no bluff charge. Charge, bluff or not, like, I'm cutting loose some because I don't know at what point.
Yeah, well, you don't know if they're stopping.
Yeah, it's, but it was, that was pretty. It was just super cool, super cool deal, getting to
Yeah.
experience that.
Well, you'll remember that trip, for the rest of your life, based on, even though it turned from a turkey hunt to a survival story real quick. Um, Look, I mean, I've encountered a lot of black bears, not a lot, but on more than one occasion up there, and they're always skittish. They're always, trying to get away, but never, with their cubs, and never at that distance,
Yeah.
but how close that was. So it definitely got the blood pumping, but man, what a story to tell. So yeah, I'll get the video up on YouTube, where you can watch our hike into the forest, and a couple of the B-roll footage and Justin, you do a great job as a cameraman. But when the going gets tough and we need the shot in the moment, we got to get quicker on the draw. We'll have to work on
Yeah,
holstering
but,
the camera and unholstering the camera
we
speed.
did talk about the B-roll situation for you people out there that video, and you're missing the B-roll because you're too busy killing things. We've
Getting
got
A-roll.
B-roll for you.
For sale.
Yeah, I mean, it's just let us know. We got
We
you.
were lacking A-roll.
We got you, man. Yeah, we're missing the A-roll or whatever it is you call the actual stuff you're trying to get.
Well, we'll put the video up, and you'll get to see it. We did get some good video of the bears, and our conversation afterwards. Because I did have my action camera running, and I forgot it was running as we were walking out, back to the truck, and so you hear us telling some stories and stuff. So, it's been cool though. It's been cool. It's been a good season. Anything else that you guys want to touch on here? I want to wrap here in the next 5-6 minutes, but
No, I mean, I think overall, like, the stuff we've talked about, the youth numbers and stuff like that, like, the thing that I always wanna hit on is just I just love doing it, man. I love hunting turkeys, and, I'm a blessed I'm a blessed individual, blessed far beyond what I deserve, what I've had put, around me during my journey in my path. I'm just thankful for being raised in this arena. Um,
Yeah.
and turkeys, man, I really, I want there to be as many of them as possible, and I love to go out and hunt them. But I just love chasing them. And seasons like Chris had, honestly, a lot of the mornings that I didn't hunt, but Chris was hunting. Like I was excited just to hear, yeah, I heard some. Like I was eager to not hear some, but to hear that he heard some. And it's tough, and it is really tough. Like I always say, there's not a sunrise that I regret seeing, but I regret the ones that I miss. And but when you're not hearing birds, it is really tough. It's easy to shift from that. Look, I just love being out here doing it. To, whew, okay, do I want to go today? You got to have a little tease of something. But that's where I just think it's important. I want there to be as many of them as possible. Um, I helped a boy the other day, hunting with. It took him a couple times last year, and then this year a couple times. Helped get him his first turkey on Friday, and dude,
Hmm.
as excited about that turkey as any turkey I've ever killed. And but he's such a good kid. He asks a lot of questions. He wants to help. But I spent a lot of time talking with him. Getting him to understand what we're doing out there. We're not just trying to fill a tag. Like this thing is a majestic creature, and we want to do it right. Like the game we're playing, there's filling a tag and killing that animal, and then there's like being successful at what we're trying to do. And when he shot that
Sure.
turkey, and that's a real funny story for another podcast, but when he killed that turkey and he brought it back, like he just sat on the ground. It's a 12-year-old boy, like any other 12-year-old boy today. And I heard, let's go, like 18 times,
Uh-huh.
you know, which, which is cool. But like he sat there and just looked, he just kind of petted that turkey and looked at the feathers and said,
He's taking it in.
I had no idea that the feathers
So
have
cool, man.
this coloring and, this and that. But, and I'm like,
Pretty cool animal,
this
man.
is it, man. This is
Take
exactly
your moment, dude.
why I
Yeah.
do it. So
Take your moment.
I guess my point is, like, I think the hunting boom took off, with the internet thing, the people just getting to see it, and then COVID helped get people out there to experience it, and that helped them grab onto it. The technology's great, as far as helping us be successful. But I think it's super important, to just have people understand the resource and about it. And I'm hoping that as research comes out on how to get these populations to come back, I'm hoping that takes hold. And there's more of an awareness to not just kill a turkey, but kill a turkey the way we're trying to kill a turkey.
Yeah.
Play the game and win at that game instead of just shooting a turkey to take a picture and put it on the internet. And I'm hoping people take that in, and the research gets out there. And look, this is what you can do to help there be more turkeys. With your land habitat management. The state's doing a lot more prescribed burns and stuff like that. Like the research is saying that is as tremendous as anything for turkeys. For a lot of different reasons, but that's the thing that I want. Is I want all of that to get out and become as popular as turkey hunting has become, because then the resource, is flourishing, and there could be 8 million of those things, and it isn't like deer where they can, too many can hurt a habitat. There can be a million turkeys, and it's not gonna, we're really not gonna ruin the habitat. Let's have as many as possible.
Love it. Love it. Appreciate you, Justin, as always. Chris, thanks for coming on the show, man. Thanks
Absolutely.
for listening and following and being part of the hunting family. And now you're in, man. Now you're part of the group.
I must know one thing though before we sign off here.
Lay it on me.
I've been listening for a while. Where did you get the Arrow Eagle name? How did you come up with that? I must know this. Maybe that's too long for a couple minutes, but I've heard the
Yeah,
Arrow Eagle,
it's
the Arrow Eagle,
probably a
the Arrow Eagle.
longer.
I'm like, where did he get the Arrow Eagle name from? So I must
It's a
know.
probably a longer. I'll actually when we're done rolling. So bottom line, I'll bottom line it for you, and then when we're done recording, I'll give you the deets. But the bottom line is, once upon a time we hunted with before cell phones, before we could text, we hunted with walkie-talkies,
Yep, two
and we
way.
did a lot of deer drives
Yeah.
growing up. And I wasn't the Arrow Eagle back then, but that's when a call sign was born. Like, everybody had a call name, because you don't know who's on that radio, you don't know who's listening.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that's said over that radio, should have been or should not have been, said. So, like, everybody had a different name
Okay.
than their actual name. But I can give you the deets on the Arrow Eagle here when we wrap up. But
Okay.
love it, man.
I got you.
Love it.
Good.
And the more you hang out, you'll probably wind up with your own nickname. You know how it is.
Yes, I've been
Everybody.
around enough circles to now end up with something maybe. But yeah.
Well, appreciate you coming on, hanging out with us. This was a fun episode, guys. I'm certainly learning a lot from guys like you, and I know the audience will take this in as well and do a lot with it. So, to anybody out there listening, give us a like, share, subscribe to the show. Take a kid, get them outside, take them hunting, get outdoors, and remember, nature is your playground. We'll see you next time.